My iPhone buzzed with a voice memo notification, and the title my twin brother saved at 2:13 a.m. made my throat close up. If anyone asks, say it was Jim. And I stayed silent like the air had turned heavy. I didn't confront him right away, even though my hands were shaking, because I already knew the truth was going to hurt more than the bruises. My name is Sloane. I am 16 years old, and I work weekends as a cashier at a Safeway in Tacoma. The kind of job where you learn to smile no matter what's happening behind someone's eyes. Dawson and I have the same face, same dark curls that refuse to lay flat, same brown eyes that teachers squint at like we are a magic trick. Even our voices match when we try. The only real difference is how we carry stress. I get sharp. I get loud inside my own head. Dawson gets quiet, like he is trying to make himself smaller so the world will stop noticing him. That Friday, he walked in wearing a short-sleeved shirt, even though the rain had turned the sidewalks into cold mirrors. He dropped his backpack by the couch and reached for the remote like he was trying to keep the day normal with muscle memory. I saw it when he lifted his arm. 4 oval marks on the outside of his upper arm and 1 deeper shadow on the inside thumb placement. Purple. Not the blotchy kind you get from bumping into a desk. Clean. Specific. Like someone had grabbed him and held on. I kept my voice light on purpose. Hey, what's that on your arm? Dawson froze for half a second, then jerked his sleeve down like the fabric could erase it. The movement knocked his water bottle off the coffee table. It rolled and leaked, little puddles spreading on the carpet. It's nothing, he said, not looking at me. My stomach did that slow drop. That's not nothing. He grabbed a throw pillow and hugged it tight. Drop it, Sloane. And there it was. The same exact sentence he used when he was lying about failing a math test in 7th grade. Same flat tone, same eyes refusing to meet mine. I didn't drop it. I stood in front of him and held out my hand. Show me. He shook his head hard. No, Dawson. His jaw flexed. He lifted the sleeve again like it physically hurt him to do it. Then he pulled up the other sleeve too. More marks. Older ones turning yellow at the edges, half-healed. Newer ones dark and swollen, some on his forearms. Some higher up, like they were meant to be hidden under fabric. My heart started pounding so loud I swear I could hear it in my ears. Who did this? I asked. And it came out softer than I wanted, because fear makes you careful. Nobody, he said too fast. Jim, we were messing around. I stared at the fingerprint pattern. Jim doesn't leave perfect thumbs. His shoulders caved. For a second he looked like he might cry, and that almost broke me more than the bruises. You cannot tell Mom, he said. Mom worked nights at the hospital. Dad was always on the road for software installations. It was usually just me and Dawson, feeding ourselves, doing homework, pretending we were fine. We had gotten good at being low maintenance. Tell me first, I said. Then we decide. He swallowed. His hands trembled a little around the pillow. It's Mr. Haskins. The name hit like ice water. Mr. Haskins was his history teacher. Dawson had mentioned him in passing, always the same way, like he was trying not to think about it. Strict, intense, old school. He called kids out in front of everyone. He acted like embarrassment was a teaching tool. What is he doing? I asked, and my voice went tight. Dawson's words came out in pieces. He gets mad if I answer wrong, if I pause, if I don't finish fast enough. He takes me into the hallway and tells me I am wasting his time. He says I disappoint him. And he grabs you, I said. Dawson nodded once, quick, like admitting it burned. How long? I asked. He stared at his socks. Since September. I felt something hot rise in my chest. Not just anger, but a kind of nausea. Weeks. Actual weeks. And I was standing in the same kitchen with him every morning, arguing about cereal, complaining about homework, and I missed it. We tell Mom, I said instantly. We tell Dad, we tell the principal. Dawson's head snapped up. No, the way he said it made me pause. Not defiant, terrified. They'll go nuclear, he whispered. They'll call, they'll show up, they'll make it loud, and then he'll know it was me. So, I said carefully, he's already doing this and you're scared of him being mad. Dawson's eyes went shiny. You don't get it. He's the kind of adult who smiles while he hurts you. He'll ruin my grade. He already told me my work looked sloppy and he wrote careless in red like it was my name. Grades are not worth bruises, I said. The worst part is, Dawson said, voice shaking, I think he picks me because I don't fight back. Like he can smell it. I didn't argue. I didn't lecture. I sat down beside him and took a slow breath through my nose, the way Mom taught me when I was little and panicking over shots at the doctor. Then suddenly, I remembered the voice memo. I pulled my phone out, and showed him the notification from earlier. "You made this last night." His face went pale. "You saw that?" "I saw it," I said. "And I'm not mad you hid it, I'm mad you had to." Dawson squeezed his eyes shut for a second. "I just wanted to stop without making it worse." And that's when I realized something that made my skin go cold. The school loved Mr. Haskins. He ran the Honor Society meetings. He supervised debate tournaments. Parents liked him because he pushed kids. Teachers praised him because his test scores were high. He was the kind of adult the system protected because he made the school look good. If Dawson spoke up with no proof, they could call it a misunderstanding. They could say he was exaggerating. They could say he bruised easily. They could say anything. I let my voice go calm. "Okay." Dawson blinked at me. "Okay, what?" "Okay," I repeated like I was agreeing with him. "We won't make it loud, not yet." His shoulders loosened a fraction, like he could finally breathe. But inside me, something clicked into place, hard and clear. "You and I said slowly, "we're identical." Dawson stared. "Sloane." "Listen," I said, keeping my tone gentle so he wouldn't shut down. "We don't need the adults to believe a story. We need them to face evidence." His eyes narrowed, cautious. "What are you thinking?" I picked up my phone and opened the camera. "I'm thinking we use what we have, our faces, our schedule. The fact that nobody looks twice when they see us in the hallway." Dawson's mouth opened slightly. "No." "Yes," I said, still quiet. "We switch." He shook his head fast. "That's insane." "Is it more insane than letting him keep doing this?" I asked, and my voice cracked on the last word. I hated that it cracked. I hated that I sounded like I was begging, but I was. Dawson stared at the carpet. "If he touches you." "If he touches me," I interrupted. "Then we photograph it, we timestamp it, we document it. We walk into the office with something they can't talk their way out of." Dawson's breathing got shallow. "What if he figures it out?" "He won't," I said. "He thinks you're weak. That's his whole game. He'll never imagine you do something smart. He'll never imagine you have me." Dawson flinched like the word weak hit a bruise inside him. I softened my voice. "You're not weak. You're tired. There's a difference." He swallowed hard. "I don't want you hurt." "I don't want you hurt either," I said, and the truth of it made my eyes sting. "But I'd rather it be me for one day than you for another month." We planned like we were planning a heist. Except the thing we were stealing was my brother's safety. Dawson handed me his class list and told me which teachers called attendance without looking up. He showed me his handwriting. The way he curled his lowercase r, he told me who sat near him in history, which kid always asked for a pencil, which girl chewed gum like she was trying to snap her jaw in half. I practiced his quiet posture in the mirror, shoulders slightly rounded, eyes down, smiles small and polite. I even practiced the way he tucked hair behind his ear when he was nervous. The next morning, the sky was steel gray. The kind of wet cold that makes your bones ache even inside a hoodie. We stood at the bus stop under the little shelter, rain tapping the plastic roof. Dawson kept rubbing his thumb against his phone case like he was sanding it down. "You can back out," I told him. He shook his head once. "No, I'm just scared." "I'm scared too," I admitted. "But I'm more scared of you thinking this is normal." He looked at me, and in his eyes I saw something that scared me worse than bruises. Relief, like he had started believing he deserved it. That's when I promised myself, silently, that Mr. Haskins was going to regret touching my brother. We walked into school together. At the crowded entrance, we split. Dawson went toward my first period. I went toward his. Nobody blinked, and that was the first micro twist that made my skin prickle. The whole world had always treated us like we were interchangeable, like we were a joke to point at and laugh. But now, that sameness was going to be a weapon. History was third period in room 114, right by the trophy case. I sat in Dawson's seat, third row near the window, and forced myself to shrink the way he did. Mr. Haskins strode in exactly on the bell, coffee in one hand, stack of papers in the other. He was tall, late 40s, close-cut hair, sleeves rolled up like he wanted to look hardworking. His smile was thin, practiced. "All right," he said, clapping once. "Pop question, if you can't answer, you shouldn't be here." A few kids chuckled nervously. He started calling names. Fast, like he enjoyed watching people panic. I kept my eyes down, playing the part. Then his shadow stopped by my desk. "Dawson," he said. My heart jumped, but my face stayed blank. He leaned closer, voice low enough only I could hear. "You've been sloppy lately." "I'll do better," I whispered. He held the pause like he wanted me to squirm. "Stand up." I stood. He looked me up and down. Not like a teacher checking a student, like a person sizing up a target. "Come with me," he said. The class went quiet. Someone's chair squeaked. The clock ticked too loud. Mr. Haskins opened the door and stepped into the hallway. expecting me to follow. I followed, and right when the door clicked shut behind me, he reached for my arm. Quick real-life pause, if you are still listening, thank you. When I'm editing late at night, it gets lonely, and your comments remind me real people are out there. Like, subscribe and tell me your city, state, or country. All right, back to the story. His fingers closed around my upper arm with the exact pressure I had memorized from the bruises. Firm, confident, like he owned the space between my skin and my bone. I didn't pull away. That was my second micro twist. He expected fear. He expected me to flinch like Dawson. Instead, I let my body go still. And with my other hand, inside my hoodie pocket, I pressed record on the voice memo app without looking. His grip tightened, just a little, like he was testing how much pressure it took to make me obey. Look at me when I'm talking to you, he said. I lifted my eyes slowly. Not defiant, not scared, just present. The hallway smelled like wet jackets and floor cleaner. Behind the classroom door, I could hear muted voices, pencils tapping, someone coughing. Life continuing like nothing was wrong. Mr. Haskins leaned closer. You think you can coast through my class because you have a pretty face and polite manners. You can't. You're not special, Dawson. My stomach twisted at hearing my brother's name in his mouth. I'm trying, I said softly. He snorted. No, you're performing. You're waiting for someone to save you. He squeezed again, harder, and pain shot up my arm. I felt the skin compress under his fingers, exactly where bruises bloom. I kept my breathing steady. I wanted to yank away so badly. I wanted to slap his hand off me. But I didn't. I let him think the old version of Dawson was standing here, shrinking, hoping the moment would pass. Because inside my pocket, the recording was catching every syllable. His voice dropped into something colder. If you embarrass me again in class, I'll make sure your parents get a very detailed email about your lack of effort. I'll copy the counselor. I'll recommend academic probation. And you can sit there and watch your little future get smaller. He was smiling while he said it, like he thought this was mentoring. I understand, I whispered. That was the third micro twist. I didn't argue. I gave him compliance, the kind that makes people like him greedy. He kept holding my arm anyway. Seconds stretched. My shoulder started to ache from being pinned in place. Then suddenly, footsteps echoed from the stairwell. A teacher's laugh, adult voices. Mr. Haskins released me instantly, like his hand had never touched my skin. He stepped back and smoothed his sleeves, calm as a man adjusting a tie. Get back in there, he said. And for once, take notes like your life depends on it. I nodded and walked into the classroom on legs that wanted to shake. I didn't look at anyone. I went straight to my seat, opened a notebook, and wrote nothing while my hand trembled under the desk. Mr. Haskins returned a moment later, already performing normal. He asked a question at the board, called on a student, made a joke that got polite laughter. If you didn't know, you'd never guess he had just hurt someone in the hallway. I kept my face blank, but inside I was counting time, counting pressure, counting proof. When the bell rang, I moved fast out of the room, down the hall, into the nearest bathroom. I locked myself in a stall and rolled up my sleeve. The skin was already reddening in 5 distinct ovals. The outline was so clear it looked stamped. I held my breath and took photos, close up, then farther back, then with the school bathroom clock visible behind my arm in the mirror. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I just collected. When I got home, Dawson was waiting at the dining table with his homework open like a shield. He looked up the second I walked in. I didn't speak. I just set my phone down in front of him and turned the screen so he could see the photo. His lips parted. His eyes went glossy. He did it, he whispered. I slid my sleeve up higher so he could see the marks in real life, not just pixels. He did. Dawson stared like he was looking at a bruise on his own skin. I'm sorry. Stop, I said gently. This is not on you. He swallowed hard. What did he say? I tapped the phone again and played the recording. Mr. Haskins's voice filled the quiet kitchen, sharp and private and cruel. The threats, the shame, the way he talked about my brother like he was an object. Dawson's hands curled into fists on the table. When the recording ended, he didn't move for a long second. Then he said, very small, he always stops when adults are near. I nodded. He knows exactly what he's doing. Dawson looked up, eyes burning. So why didn't the principal do anything last time someone complained? That was the sentence that made my skin prickle. Because Dawson hadn't said last time by accident. What do you mean? I asked. He hesitated, then his gaze dropped. I heard something in the hallway. 2 teachers were talking near the copy room. They said he's been complained about before, but he's friends with the assistant principal, so it never sticks. My chest tightened. I leaned forward. Which assistant principal? Dawson whispered. Mr. Klein. Mr. Klein was the one who handled discipline. The one who shook hands at assemblies and told parents the school had a zero-tolerance policy. The one who always smiled like a politician. So the system wasn't just slow. It was connected. I kept my voice calm. Okay. Dawson blinked. Okay. Yes, I said, like I was agreeing that we were trapped. Like I was giving up, but I was. I pulled out my laptop and opened a new document. I labeled it with the date, the class period, the room number, the time. Then I opened the school's online portal and found the section for reporting concerns. There was a button for anonymous reporting. There was a space to attach files. I looked at Dawson. We are going to do this twice, one official way and one quiet way. He frowned. What's the quiet way? I clicked open another tab and typed the district office contact list. Emails, phone numbers, names. Then I pulled up the school board meeting calendar. Dawson's eyes widened. Sloane, not yet, I said. First, we make them choose. I submitted the anonymous report with the photo and the recording attached. I kept it clean. No emotion, just facts. Then I printed copies. One set for the principal, one set for the counselor, one set for the nurse. The next morning, we didn't switch back. That was another twist. Dawson expected he would take his life back and I would return to mine. But I knew if we swapped only once, they could claim it was a weird day, a misunderstanding, a one-time incident. Patterns are harder to deny. So Dawson stayed in my classes again. I stayed in his. And I did something I hated myself for doing. I fed the trap. In history, I stopped answering quickly. I paused before speaking. I let my pencil hover like I was confused. I turned in a short assignment with 2 obvious mistakes I would never make. Mr. Haskins noticed instantly. Of course he did. After class, he told me to stay. I stayed. The hallway confrontation happened again. But this time, he didn't start with words. He started with a grab. He pushed me against the wall just enough to make my shoulder touch the cinder block. His fingers clamped down like a vice. My stomach clenched, but I kept my face soft. I made my eyes look scared on purpose. You're slipping, he hissed. You want me to humiliate you in front of everyone? No, I whispered. Then fix it, he said. Or I will. I recorded again. That afternoon, I went straight to the school nurse with my sleeve rolled up. The nurse, Mrs. Patel, looked at my arm and her expression changed instantly. Not surprise, recognition. Who did this? She asked low. I let my voice shake, just enough to sound like Dawson. I don't know, I fell. Mrs. Patel's eyes didn't leave the bruises. These are not from a fall. I swallowed and stared at the floor. Please don't call my mom. Her mouth tightened. I'm a mandated reporter. I nodded slowly like I was terrified and said the sentence that mattered most. It was a teacher. Mrs. Patel didn't raise her voice. She didn't panic. She pulled a form out of a drawer and set it on the desk. Name, she said. I whispered, Mr. Haskins. She exhaled through her nose like she'd been holding her breath for months. Then she wrote it down with calm, angry precision. That's when I realized the proof already existed. I just had to collect it from the right people. Mrs. Patel took photos with the official clinic camera. She measured the bruises and wrote notes about the pattern. She asked me when it happened. I gave times and dates. I gave the location. I gave the hallway. Then she made a call, right in front of me, to Child Protective Services. When I left the nurse's office, my hands were shaking, not from fear of Mr. Haskins anymore, but from the knowledge that this was no longer a report a principal could bury. At lunch, I met Dawson behind the gym, where the vending machines hummed and nobody listened. He saw my sleeve rolled up and went pale. He did it again. I nodded. Yes. Dawson swallowed hard. Sloane, stop, please. I took his hand and squeezed. I need you to understand something. His eyes lifted to mine, glossy and scared. This is the reality check, I said quietly. Not for you, for him, for the school, for every adult who thinks silence is easier than doing the right thing. Dawson's breath hitched. I kept my voice steady. I went to the nurse. She's filing, officially. His shoulders sagged. And for the first time since the bruises, I saw something like hope flicker. But then suddenly, my phone buzzed in my pocket with a new email notification. I pulled it out and saw the subject line. Meeting request. Today, Assistant Principal Klein. My pulse spiked. I didn't show it on my face. I just stared at the screen while the cold settled into my bones. Dawson read it over my shoulder and whispered, They know. I slipped my phone back into my pocket and looked at him, calm on purpose. No, I said. They think they know. They called me out of 5th period with a pink slip that said report to Assistant Principal Klein immediately. I walked down the hallway slow on purpose, like I was nervous. Like I was the kind of kid who could be scared into silence again. Inside the office, the air smelled like stale coffee and printer toner. Mr. Klein sat behind his desk with his hands folded, smiling the way adults smile when they want you to think they are safe. "Dawson," he said, and the way he said my brother's name made my skin crawl. "Have a seat." I sat. I kept my hands in my lap. I kept my face blank. In my pocket, my phone was already recording. Mr. Klein slid a folder across the desk. "We received a report. Anonymous. Very serious allegations." I nodded once, like I was ashamed. He watched me closely. "You want to tell me what's going on?" I kept my voice small. "I don't know what you mean." Mr. Klein sighed like I was wasting his time. "A teacher cannot do their job if students are making up stories. You understand that, right?" I didn't argue. I just looked at the folder. He tapped it with 2 fingers. "Mr. Haskins says you are struggling. He says you've been disrespectful in class. He says you've been trying to get attention." My throat tightened, but I kept my voice quiet. "I haven't." Mr. Klein leaned back. "So then why do we have claims of inappropriate contact?" I let my eyes flicker down to my sleeve. I made myself look scared. I hated myself for acting, but I needed him relaxed. I needed him certain. He saw it and pounced. "Show me your arm." I hesitated exactly 1 second, then rolled up my sleeve. The bruises were darker now. 5 ovals, clear, angry purple against my skin. Mr. Klein's smile faltered. "Just a crack." He covered it fast. "Those could be from anything," he said. I let my voice tremble. "They are from him." Mr. Klein lifted his eyebrows like I had just said something ridiculous. "You're accusing a respected teacher." I stared at him and kept my tone flat. "I went to the nurse." That word changed the room. Mr. Klein's eyes sharpened. "Why would you do that without coming to administration first?" "Because you are not the administration. You are the wall," I thought. Out loud, I said. "I didn't want my mom called." He pressed his lips together. "You do understand the consequences of false reporting. Suspension, expulsion, police involvement." I didn't flinch. I just nodded again. That was the moment he decided I was easy. He opened the folder and pulled out a printed screenshot of the anonymous report. The attached photo. The same bruise pattern I had on my arm. Mr. Klein laid it on the desk like it was a playing card. "This was submitted through our system. You know anything about that?" I kept my eyes down. "No." Mr. Klein watched me like he was trying to catch a twitch. When he didn't, he changed tactics. He stood up and walked toward the door. "I'm going to bring Mr. Haskins in. It's important we clear this up before it becomes a bigger issue." My heart thudded once heavy. So this was their plan. A pressure room. A student alone with 2 adults. A forced confession. An apology that made the problem disappear. Mr. Klein stepped out. I inhaled slowly through my nose and kept the phone recording. I adjusted my sleeve so the bruise was visible. I set my hands back in my lap. Still. Quiet. The door opened again. Mr. Haskins walked in. He didn't look worried. He looked irritated, like the meeting was an inconvenience. When his eyes landed on me, a tiny smile tugged at the corner of his mouth, private and cruel. He thought this was the part where I broke. Mr. Klein closed the door behind him. "All right," Mr. Klein said, sitting again. "Dawson, tell Mr. Haskins what you told me." I didn't speak. Mr. Haskins chuckled softly. "He gets confused sometimes. He takes feedback personally." Mr. Klein nodded like that made sense. "Dawson, did you accuse Mr. Haskins of grabbing you?" I lifted my eyes slowly. "Yes," I said. Mr. Haskins's smile vanished. "Excuse me." Mr. Klein held up a hand. "Let's stay calm. Dawson, why would you say that?" I let silence hang for a beat, the way I had learned to at the checkout lane when customers tried to push me around. Silence makes people fill the space. Mr. Haskins filled it. "Because he can't handle discipline," he snapped. "Because he wants to blame someone else for his laziness." Mr. Klein looked at me like he expected me to apologize. I didn't. I rolled my sleeve up higher and held my arm out over the desk, close enough that the bruises were unavoidable. Mr. Haskins's gaze flicked to them, then away too fast. Mr. Klein cleared his throat. "Those marks are concerning, but marks alone don't prove intent." Mr. Haskins leaned forward. "I don't touch students, ever. This is a lie." I kept my voice steady. "You grabbed me in the hallway, twice." Mr. Haskins laughed, but it sounded forced. "This is ridiculous." Mr. Klein's tone changed, softer, almost kind. "Dawson, sometimes students misinterpret. A teacher guiding you out of a classroom is not abuse." The gaslighting landed like a slap, but I kept my face neutral. I nodded slowly. "Okay." Mr. Klein blinked. He expected anger. He expected tears. He expected a fight he could call a tantrum. "Okay," he repeated. So you admit you misinterpreted. I tilted my head slightly, like I was confused. No, I said okay because you're going to hear it. Mr. Haskins's eyes narrowed. Hear what? I reached into my pocket and placed my phone on the desk. Screen down, still recording. Mr. Klein's posture stiffened. You're not allowed to record staff. I looked at him and kept my voice quiet. I already did. Mr. Haskins's face went pale for half a second. Mr. Klein reached for the phone, but I slid it back toward me, just out of his reach. I didn't come here to debate, I said. I came here to give you what you said you needed. Proof. Mr. Klein's jaw tightened. Sloane Donovan. My stomach flipped. He didn't say Dawson. He said my name. Mr. Haskins's eyes widened, then sharpened into something furious. Mr. Klein leaned forward. You and your brother have been switching, haven't you? So they had figured it out, or thought they had. I kept my voice calm. Yes. Mr. Haskins stood up so fast his chair scraped. That is fraud. That is deception. That is grounds for expulsion. Mr. Klein held up a hand again, but his face had shifted into something colder. You understand how serious this is. You lied to staff. You manipulated attendance and grades. I nodded again. Yes. Mr. Klein looked satisfied. He thought he had the bigger weapon now. He thought he could make us the problem. Then suddenly, I pulled my sleeve down and looked him straight in the eye. The nurse filed a mandated report yesterday, I said, to Child Protective Services. She took official photographs. She documented the bruise pattern. She logged the time and date. She made the call with me sitting in her office. Mr. Klein's expression froze. Mr. Haskins swallowed hard. I kept going, steady, simple, like I was reading a receipt. The district safety office got the same documentation last night. The anonymous report was just the first copy. The second copy went to the district. The third copy went to the school board email listed on the public site. Mr. Klein's lips parted. You did what? I didn't raise my voice. I did what you should have done the first time a student walked in here with bruises. Mr. Haskins snapped. You can't prove I did anything. I nodded slightly. You're right, not with bruises alone. I tapped my phone. But with your voice, yes. Mr. Klein's eyes darted to the phone like it was a bomb. I leaned forward, just enough to make the room feel smaller. I have 4 recordings, I said quietly. Different days, different hallways, your threats, your words, the part where you say you'll ruin my future, the part where you tell me I'm waiting for someone to save me. Mr. Haskins's hands curled into fists. That's illegal. Mr. Klein's voice went tight. Turn that over. I didn't move. I took a breath. Also, you should know the hallway camera outside room 114 works. The one by the trophy case. The one you always stand with your back to. Mr. Haskins's face drained of color. Mr. Klein shot him a look. It works. Mr. Haskins opened his mouth, then closed it. That was the twist that felt like justice. They thought there was no footage. They thought their little private hallway was a blind spot. But the camera wasn't broken. The only thing broken was the story they told themselves. Mr. Klein stood abruptly, chair squealing. This meeting is over. I stood too. Calm, quiet. I didn't argue. I didn't demand. I just said, my brother is done being your target. Mr. Klein pointed at the door. Go to class. I walked out, and the second I stepped into the hallway, my phone buzzed with an email notification. District office. Confirmed receipt. Then another buzz. Emergency staff meeting. Mandatory attendance. Then another. Mr. Haskins. Administrative leave effective immediately. My legs almost gave out, not because I was weak, but because the adrenaline finally had somewhere to go. At lunch, I found Dawson behind the gym again. He took one look at my face and knew. Something happened, he whispered. I nodded. He's done. Dawson's shoulders sagged like someone had finally lifted a weight off his spine. His eyes filled, but he didn't cry. He just breathed, deep and shaky, like he was learning what it felt like to have air again. But, he said, voice cracking, what about you? What about switching? Are you going to get in trouble? I looked at him. I smiled a little. That's the part they missed, I said softly. I never denied it, I admitted it, and I documented why. Dawson stared. I squeezed his hand. Let them try to punish the kid who got hurt. Let them put that on paper while the district is watching. Let them explain it. 2 days later, a district investigator pulled me and Dawson out of class separately. She didn't smile. She didn't threaten. She asked clear questions, wrote everything down, and when she saw the bruises on Dawson's arm from older weeks, her eyes hardened in a way that made me believe her. By the end of the week, Mr. Haskins's classroom was covered by a substitute, and the trophy case hallway felt lighter, like it had been holding its breath. A month later, Dawson and I sat at our kitchen table while Mom, pale with fury, held the district's official letter. Dad was home for once, his suitcase still by the door, his hands clenched so tight his knuckles went white. The letter said Mr. Haskins had violated district policy. It said he was terminated. It said the district was referring the case to law enforcement for assault. Mom's voice shook. He put his hands on you. Dawson didn't look away this time. Yes, Dad's eyes landed on me. And you? I nodded. Yes. Mom reached across the table and pulled both of us into her arms. It was messy and tight and real. The kind of hug you don't get when everyone is pretending everything is fine. Later that night, Dawson came into my room holding his history notebook like it was something brand new. They moved me out of his class, he said quietly. They put me with Ms. Rowe. I smiled. How is she? Dawson blinked like he was still surprised by kindness. She asked my opinion. She said my answer was thoughtful. She didn't even raise her voice. I felt my throat tighten. He sat on the edge of my bed and looked down at his arms, at the fatting shadows. I keep waiting for it, he admitted. For the grabs, for the hallway, for the threat. I shook my head slowly. It's not coming. Dawson looked up. How do you know? I held his gaze. Because you're not alone anymore. And because the kind of man who needs fear to feel powerful just lost the only place that made him feel big. Dawson's eyes shimmered. You really did give him a reality check. I nodded. Not with a punch, not with a scene. I paused, and my voice went even quieter. With a record button and patience, Dawson breathed out a laugh that sounded like relief. A week after that, I walked past the trophy case and saw Mr. Klein standing with a cardboard box in his arms, his nameplate already removed from the door behind him. He didn't look at me. He didn't have to, because I didn't destroy them with yelling or revenge fantasies. I just made them stand in the light with exactly what they tried to hide.